everybody. It's 9:30 here in Spain. If you notice, my clock above me had slightly a couple of minutes out, but it's definitely 9:30. I've gone live. I've checked the live thing. We've got a special guest tonight, Chris from UPSTICKS. You've seen him before, but I will introduce him later on. I've got 9 in the house, 10 in the house. We're starting to build up a bit now. We've got the usual crowd in already on the comments. So, special guest, Chris from UPSTICKS. Chris is from the Malaga area, and he does Spanish residency and car registration and some other things that he will tell you about later on. First thing I want to say is Lobster. Now, Lobster is the Spanish mobile site, which is English. Now, at the moment, they're doing a fantastic deal. Now, I don't get nothing off these guys other than they just give me a free use of their phone. But they've got some amazing deals at the moment. I think those there for €6 for 18 gig for 3 months, I believe, if it's what it says, yeah, which is pretty amazing. And any of you guys that are on the Cambasol area and you want a SIM card, I've got some SIM cards here as well. If you want to come up, I can give you a SIM card. But you still have to pay, guys. Not me, but you have to pay Lobster to be on the net. Obviously, Currencies Direct. I believe now they got another Prime Minister in. The exchange rate's going up. I think it was 116 the other day. So that's looking good. So don't forget Currencies Direct. Just mention my name. That would be fantastic. That coffee fund. Wow. Yeah, I want to thank everybody that contributes to the coffee fund because it does help me, I must say. So, Martin, top man, sorry I've been a while since my last contribution, but you can now have that long-awaited coffee in Kit Kat. Yeah, top man, Martin. Don't worry about the long delay. Most appreciate it, as always. The other one, I also have a problem with this. He knows who he is. He's Gene Perry. Anyway, he knows who he is. I can't pronounce that, I'll be honest. His third contribution to my electricity bill, coming from a town near Seattle, which is in Washington State, USA. Fantastic. More money, the better for the electricity bills, what I'll say. That gas tax is pain in the diddly-doos. Anyway, and also not forgetting my other fantastic contributor, which is Yogi. And Yogi's contributed to the Coffee Yogi Fund. So most appreciate that, guys, as always. And don't forget the Expat and Padron merchandise. There's a link below in the video. You can get a cup, you can get a t-shirt, those sort of things. What else have we got? Oh, yeah. Information sites are pretty important. I mean, I'm just an ordinary guy. Guys, you've got to contact like Chris from UPSTICKS, the professional people, and also some of the sites on the internet which are really helpful, which is the Citizens Advice Spain. It's a free site. You can go on there. You can download PDFs on some of the up-to-date information at the moment. It's always worth checking it out. Obviously, another one that's quite important for the UK people is the Gov UK site. Now they got free things on there you want to look at. One is obviously living in Spain, which is pretty important, especially at the moment if you are trying to exchange your driving license, which seems to be an ongoing saga. And I think he's just got a script now he does every week. Poor guy, he's thinking, oh, how long is this going on for? But anyway, check out Living in Spain on the Gov UK site. Healthcare obviously is another important one. And another important one, believe it or not, check your passport. Because they're pretty strict now, I hear. Making sure your passport's up to date. You've got those clear pages, especially if you're coming over on holiday or you're coming over as a holiday owner, something like that. Yeah. So, and also not forgetting, obviously, the Spanish embassy in the UK or here in Spain, the British embassy in Madrid for any up-to-date information that they may have. So, Campus Hole news. Update on the around Campus Hole, mostly on A really, because that's where I'm on A Campus Hole. Still no new bars. We got a couple of places empty at the moment. Unfortunately, the Vista Bar is still empty. There's been no anybody interested in Vista Bar, and also the butcher shop. There was a few rumours about the butcher shop, still empty. So, and the shops at the front of the shopping area that had cash machines that were pulled out the windows, did a lot of damage. All the windows are being replaced now. It's all looking nice and new again, but the shop owners have had enough of the cash machines. They don't seem to have any sort of security, so the shop owners are refusing to have cash machines put back. But if you go into Alan's shop on Campus OA, if you buy €10, you can get cash back. So, I mean, that's pretty good. And talking about Alan's shop, he's expanded. Now, where Alan's, he's got a mini supermarket. And what he's done, he's taken the shop over that used to be the travel agent shop, which has been empty ever since COVID. He's taken that over, so he's doubled his size. And he's hopefully going to be... It's open at the moment, obviously, but I think all the building work will be finished by next week. And he says he's got a few surprises. So check out Alan's shop if you're on the Campus O area. Not much else has been happening on Campus O, really. The new hospital they're building on A, they've got on to the second stage now. I mean, obviously, we're still talking another year maybe for all that sort of up and running, maybe another year and a half, I suppose. And also the council, I'm not too up on it, but the council offered Campus Hole 2 suggestions. People got to vote for it. I don't know the link for it because the guy that put it up didn't put a share on it. So I don't know how you contact, but you've probably seen it on some of the other Facebook sites. And what the mayor, Mazarin mayor's offered is either a dog park. Dog parks seem to be quite a popular thing now around Spain. Have a little doggy park for the dogs to train in and that, or it's a outdoor fitness area. I believe both of these are proposed on Campus D, but you can only have one of them, obviously. And it sounds like at the moment it's going to be the outdoor fitness area on Campus D. So that's it. What I'm going to do now is put on the intro, and then we're getting... say hello to Chris. So let's just find the intro video. Can I find it? Probably not. No, that's not it. Just keep on in there, guys. Keep on now. I've got 31 in the house, which is good. I found it. Here we go. We're off.
Solo un rayo del sol cambia el tiempo en el reloj. Hoy mis deudas reciben perdón, pago por el show. Me siento feliz porque si no soy yo, pues ¿quién? Todos caen a mi lado, el freno lo arranqué. Me siento feliz porque yo no dudo mi power. Te burlaste de mí, se acabó. Trata de festejar, celebramos el bienestar. Tantas estrellas brillan, quiero un carro que corra más. Nada me rompe, no, nada me rompe. Trata de festejar, celebramos el bienestar. Tantas estrellas brillan y Marte me espera mientras yo vea. Nada me rompe, no, nada me rompe. Quiero un carro que corra más. Traigo un fin y después fumo un cabo del cigarette. Me pierdo en la ciudad. Ha llegado mi tiempo ya. Voy a vivir porque si yo no soy yo, pues...
So here he is. Here's the man, Chris from UPSTICKS.
Good evening.
Hello, Chris. So first of all, I just want to say, what is UPSTICKS all about, and how do we contact you?
So UPSTICKS, we're a company based in Malaga, and we help people get residency in Spain and also register their vehicles. Our main services being, since Brexit, evidently the non-lucrative visa. We also help people with the golden visa and EU, which is some of our questions actually based on this evening. People have EU family members who will bring them over and be getting residency. And you can contact us at support@upsticks.es or using the website www.upsticks.es. There's a call booking system on there where you can book a call to chat with us.
So we've got quite a lot of questions to get through tonight, and I'll be honest, guys, if you put any questions up in the comments that way, if we got time, we'll see if Chris can get through them. But to be honest, guys, we're just going to go through the questions that I've been given for tonight's show. But like I said, so if there is a question you put up there, and we don't answer it, it's because we haven't got time, guys. Because there are some good questions there, and I think a lot of these questions will probably be questions you want to ask anyway. So anyway, we go for the first question, which is from David, and he says, "Could you please explain any difference between?" Oh, right, this is the one. I don't think it's really for you, really, is it, Chris? This is the guy that was asking about the difference between car and house insurance. It's not the sort of thing you do, really, is it?
No, I mean it's not a residency question. I mean, I suppose the only things that we could say so the full question. If I'm looking to the side, I've got my computer here. Sorry. Could you please explain the differences between car and house insurance when compared to the UK in terms of how to buy, what is covered, no claims bonus, and so on? It's pretty similar. You normally buy. You can buy. It's like in the UK, isn't it? Here, you can buy from a broker if you want, or you can buy directly from the company online. I always say, if I'm talking to my clients, I always think it's better maybe that you go to a broker because you've got somebody who can fight on your behalf. Then I suppose a decent one, but yeah. And the car insurance, obviously, here the biggest difference is they insure the car and not the person. Where in the UK, it's the other way around. The person, not the car. So
which is really handy here, isn't it? Because anybody in the family can go and drive the car, especially one of you hurts himself. And you ain't got that problem, have you? Whereas in the UK, it's whoever's on the form. Okay.
Yeah. So I can't just jump in any car when I go home to see my family, but my family can here. Just be a bit careful with British driving licenses now. I do know that though. I switched companies recently because there was a little bit of a thing there regarding the driving license. So some companies got no problem, with it. Other companies have. So, but as I say, it's not really my field, but from personal experience, I can tell you that.
Thankfully, all the other questions are to deal with Chris. So we'll go on to the next question by Cheryl. And she says, I've got a question. Do the Spanish consulate keep your passport when you go to the consulate for your visa?
This question, this is my biggest headache. With the consulates, well, one of the biggest headaches, because they change their mind like the wind. So basically, the current situation, let's not go through the past. So the current situation is that the London consulate prefers to keep your passport, and you have to take a self-addressed envelope, and there's actually a document that they want you to print off and sign, quite worryingly saying that they're not responsible for the passport, but they're going to keep it. But I haven't seen one get lost yet. What we did see over the summer was, because of the amount of time it was taking for visas to come out, that the consulate were letting people who had travel plans, etc., actually keep their passports and go back and get the visas put in. But the precedent is they want to actually keep your passport and send it back to you in a self-addressed envelope, which you have to provide them. Now, Manchester's a law to itself. Now, for a long time before summer, they were saying, we want to keep passports, but now they've did a full U-turn and they're letting everybody keep their passports. And again, Edinburgh do prefer to send passports out to you in a self-addressed envelope, albeit we've had some clients go through in August and September who needed the passports because children were starting school in Spain and stuff like that, and they let them have it back. So it's really down to personal circumstance, but we always warn our clients that you have to be prepared to leave the passport, because if they change their policies one day to the next, which they occasionally do,
Right.
you know, you can't always bet on having that back.
And I suppose it's getting back to this, every place has a different way of dealing with things, isn't it? You know, it's just the same as here in Spain, just as much as it sounds like the UK has got their own.
And every month, every month.
Yeah.
I had one, a lady who's just got her visa actually yesterday. I mean, what you've got to remember is that the consulates are absolutely and utterly stacked at the moment. You know, immigration here in Spain. I mean, Almeria alone, I was talking to somebody there in immigration. They had last year 35,000 applications to process, not from Brits, all of them, but they're just in general. And this year they're going up to 40. So, you know, the consulates are stacked and they sort of play it by ear. So in summer, they were like, oh, no, it's going to be better for us to, before summer, keep the passports and send them out. Then we're not going to have people coming back. Then they realised when the visas were taking 3 months to come out that it's better to give people's passports back, because then they're not getting earache, basically. So I think it's very dependent as well on the season where you want to apply for your visa.
Right. So, Cheryl, I hope that's answered the question. Just be aware, isn't it? Right, the next one, he's got a long name, this guy. This is called Flat Cats Window Protection of Cats. I've heard about the digital Nomad visa. Does he have any idea when this may be introduced? I've heard about this, but...
No, not yet. They said the white paper has been put into the government, but no, we were supposed to be introduced early this summer. So no, we don't. Unfortunately, we don't know yet. We don't know when that's going to be introduced.
So do you think that's still a rumor, or was it actually in process?
Oh no, it's definitely in process. Definitely, 100%.
Still not. No. Where further? No. Okay.
No.
Right. Raymond is asking residential question: if somebody registered on the Padron while owning a holiday home, then they move permanent, will the earlier Padron affect their residency and tax?
Well, yeah, it can do, can't it? I mean, we've seen many cases. There was that famous case of the guy who was a non-resident but was on the Padron and got stopped at the border in Gibraltar and had his car taken off him because they considered him to be a resident. That was one that happened around here. But talking generally, yes, it can affect a lot of things because, and as we were saying before we came on the show, back before Brexit, there was town halls telling non-residents, "Oh, come and sign on," wasn't there? You know.
Yeah.
And now what we've had in relation to personal goods and especially vehicles, what we've had is people who have been signed on the Padron a long time before they've taken residency. They've finally taken the plunge, come over here, moved with their visa or whatever type of residency they've got, brought a car over from the UK, and to be able to register it here, it has to go through customs. It goes through what they call aduanas. Now, it doesn't actually vehicle doesn't physically have to go. You can get a customs agent to do it for you. They work at a computer, and if it gets approved, it never goes. But if you've had a Padron certificate for longer than 12 months before you moved over, then there's no way you're going to be able to waive your import tax and duty on your items. And specifically, we've come across it with vehicles because they'll use any excuse not to waive that tax. So customs consider your Padron date as the first date that you signed on, not the date that you got your residency.
Right.
So,
I mean, I know from the British Embassy here in Spain, they said if you're a holiday owner and you've got a Padron, get rid of it or deregister yourself, because obviously the police are not having it, and they just, if you've got a Padron and you're not resident, as far as they're concerned, you're a resident. But so I suppose really, once you become a resident, you reapply for a new Padron. But I suppose,
you sign on to the local town hall register, you know, and get your Padron certificate. You should not be. I mean, it's coming. It didn't really affect people before Brexit, but even now, obviously, with the driving licenses, as we know, there's the hoo-ha that's happening with that. You've only got 6 months once you get your residency. Well, if you get stopped and the police find out that you're on the Padron and they take that as a date of residency, then you're no longer a tourist, albeit you haven't got a residency card. It's down to their interpretation, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
Tricky one, that. Right, next one by Frank. The golden visa. We are retired. What would the benefits of a golden visa regarding a non-lucrative visa?
Well, the only benefit really would be that you can travel freely, obviously, between the UK and Spain for as many days as you like, as many days you see fit. So a lot of people use the non-lucrative visas to stay within the minimum tax threshold days, shall we say? So they don't actually spend a full half a year here in a fiscal year. But apart from that, not many, to be honest with you. I mean, if you do get the other biggest advantage, I suppose, that if you are going to make an investment of $500,000 in a property here, you could actually skip the consulate bit and get your golden visa in Spain. So that's another advantage. So the moving freely between the UK and Spain would be one advantage, and the other advantage would be that you can actually apply for the golden visa, the investor visa, while you're actually here in Spain, and you get initially 2 years, whereas with a non-lucrative visa you only get a year, as we know, for the first year.
But also, on what I've heard, that if they get a golden visa, they can work. Is that right?
Of course, yeah. But then if you're retired, then
yeah.
You can work. You can work on a golden visa. You can set up a company on a golden visa. You can
I think people also got to
that.
remember any of these visas, they still have to pay, don't they? It means your partner has to pay, your children have to pay the visa. It's not all one lump sum, is it? With the golden visa, just the same as the non-lucrative, they all still got to pay their little share, haven't they?
Yeah. So with the golden visa, it's a big misconception that you can just invest $500,000 in your home dry. You still have to prove you've got the same amount of income that you have with a non-lucrative visa. Evidently, with a golden visa, that can be earned income, not passive income. So if for somebody who's not retired, there's definitely a lot of, if you can afford a golden visa, there's a lot more benefits. For somebody, so Frank, who's retired, there's not that many. If you're retiring, you're planning on spending a lot of time in Spain, 10 months of the year in Spain or more, then there's probably not that many advantages to getting the golden visa, unless you are going for a $500,000 property. Then you might as well do that instead of a non-lucrative.
Yeah. So Frank, that's answered your question. Next question. Oh no, Frank's got a couple more here. We have conflicting information from various sources. Do you still need to supply proof of income for the following 5 years? Now, I presume he's on about the non-lucrative visa.
Yeah, you still evidently each renewal stage you have to prove that you've got your income and your healthcare in. We're just going through the first year renewals now. Actually, we've had our first few approvals through, and you always have to prove that you've got money and your healthcare in place.
Yeah. Now another one of that. Do you still have to stop in Spain for 10 months of the year to get residency?
Yes. So what he's referring to there is the 10 months that you're allowed out during the first 5-year period. So when you get to the end of that 5-year period, then you can get your larga duración, or your close. It's like permanent residency, it's slightly different, but like permanent residency. So to get your actual residency, you can't be out of Spain for more than 10 months in the first 5 years, which averages evidently to 10 months in a year.
Right. And the other one of that was some information says that you only need to be in Spain for 1 day a year. If that is correct, would we be able to come and go just like as before Brexit?
No,
I didn't think so. Not for 1 day a year. Unless he's referring to the 90-day thing, maybe.
Might be referring to the golden visa, because but then who would get a golden visa to come to Spain for 1 day? It's an awful lot of money to spend on a property to come for 1 day. I can tell you that.
I imagine there's a lot of people here that's got that sort of money. I know I haven't.
No,
yeah.
No, that's a lot of money to spend just for. I mean, that's great if you've got that option, but obviously on a golden visa you can rent it out or run it as a business. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. So obviously that last one's false, then, isn't it? About 1 day a year.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Okay. Next question by Glenn. Just bought a car. Do I need a Padron to drive my car over? So I bought a car in the UK.
No, you don't need a Padron. Contrary, so I don't know. Obviously, we don't really know the full circumstance, but let's just say that he's bought a UK registered car to bring over to Spain, and he's going to take residency here in Spain and bring the car with him.
Yeah.
A couple of things. Obviously, you don't need the Padron to drive the car over, because you're coming over initially maybe with the visa in your passport or with your EU passport. So you don't need a Padron to bring a UK vehicle in. You will need it when you come to register your vehicle, because you're going to have to register it an address. And if you're taking residency in Spain, the best way in front of the DGT to prove your address is a Padron certificate. And the only other thing I'd say to that, Glenn, is if you have just bought a car and then you're moving to Spain, be aware that if you haven't owned it for 6 months, you can't take advantage of the change of residence tax breaks.
So really, he's better getting a Padron once he gets here in Spain, but obviously he's still going to get hammered with the tax, I'll take it.
Yeah, it's depending. It could, I mean, unless he means, let us know, Glenn, obviously. If you mean you've bought a Spanish car. If you've bought a Spanish car in the UK, some people do that. People going back and, and driving back over, then you would need a Padron to get that put into your name. Or if you're a non-resident and just using that car you would need something like a long-term rental contract or property deeds, because when you do a transfer of ownership for a vehicle, you have to have an address where to register the local taxes.
Right. So the next question, I've got a horrible feeling there's a question further down similar to this one. Anyway, this is from Tony and Pat. And he's in, hi Sean, me and the wife are hoping to retire to Spain next year. We are both British with British passports, but as my father was born in Southern Ireland, I was entitled to an Irish passport, which I have now got. So just wanted to know the things I have to do to retire there. And will the wife be able to come? And what will she have to do? And she hasn't got an Irish passport. Thanks in advance. Did you understand that for me?
Yeah, no, Tony's unfortunately Tony's going to have to leave his wife. I'm afraid it's. I'm joking. He just had to leave that. No, he doesn't. So if Tony's got an Irish passport, then they can come in as an EU family unit, basically. Okay, so the process is that Tony will first. You've got to get your timings right for the EU family members. Tony will come over and register as an EU resident. Pat can come over as a tourist, and with Tony, and then as soon as Tony's registered as an EU resident, then she can apply for an EU family member status, which is a completely different process to Tony's residency. Tony's residency will actually be awarded in a day, like it used to be for us. When the Brits were in the EU, when I first got my residency, well, it's a little bit different to mine, because one was in 2000, but when other people got their residencies, it was just turn up and get your green card. So Pat's residency, they have to prove that obviously the relationship, so there's a marriage certificate, legalization of a marriage certificate has to be apostilled, has to be recently dated, so people have to get duplicates of marriage certificates if they're married in the UK, translated, and then like with most residencies, well, all residencies, you always have to prove where you live, you've got healthcare, and you've got finances to support yourself.
Yeah, and obviously, Tony, you are married, it's not your partner, because obviously I know we've had a few people saying that, and that they one of them's got a EU passport and the other one hasn't, but they're not married. That's not allowed, is it?
It's tough. It's tough. It's tough. But I had a meeting today actually with somebody, and we were discussing this, and it is tough. Like I'll be honest, we offer an EU family members package, basically,
right,
where we do like because there's so many Irish stroke British combinations, now from people getting their passports. But to be honest, as a company, we don't do it for people if they're not married, because it's really hard work. I know it's been done. I know it's achievable. I've been to someone today who'd actually done it by proving the longevity in a relationship with, but it is tough. They get tough even if it's a marriage which is short lived. So let alone they're not being a marriage. So it's better to have a marriage certificate.
Right.
Or a civil partnership.
Good. Thanks for that, Chris. All right. The next question is from Vodka Dave. As I can only do 6 months in total in Spain, what do you think works out the best financially too? Driving my UK car over and buying a Spanish plate car and leaving it near the airport as when I need it. I mean, I suppose must be quite a few holiday owners who got that sort of way of thinking of having a Spanish car left here in Spain. I mean, is that
Yeah, that's I think the two scenarios there is one. I personally think if you're just using it as a holiday home, and you want to use a vehicle here, then I'd buy a Spanish car and just leave it. There's plenty of airport places which will pick you up and drop you off, give you your car back, and you use it and take it back to them. What would be the arguments against bringing a British car? Well, you can't bring a British car and leave it here and then drive it as a tourist as you fly in and out, because it's really the interpretation. It depends on the police, but if they see the vehicle for more than 3 months in the country, you might find that you've got problems with that. But not only that, if a British car is outside of the UK for more than 12 months, then the DVLA consider it permanently exported anyway. So then if you really should be driving a British car around, leaving it here, driving it about. You're only asking for trouble, really. And if you decided then to register that British car and you're a non-resident, like we said before, you'd be liable for the taxes, and it's not often worth it. So I'd say it's probably better, to do what many people do, is get a Spanish car, leave it here. If you've got somewhere to live here in Spain as a property, then you can register at that property and then just, either lock it up and with one of these car park people, or leave it home.
Because I mean, obviously another thing here, car rental here has just gone through the roof at the moment. It costs so much money to rent a car. It's probably more advisable to buy a cheap Spanish car. And you find a lot of the airports, I think Alicante and Corvera Airport do special deals now for sort of long-term parking. Dave, buy a Spanish car. Right.
I mean, I know where he's coming from, because there is a lot of, there's, you go online and you see a 2008 Peugeot and they still want 10 grand for it, and you're like, what? But it depends how much you're going to spend on a car, doesn't it? Because if you get towards the nearly new, you get really good deals here in Spain. It's when you get, because the depreciation line isn't like the UK, it sort of goes like that, doesn't it? Whereas the UK, they depreciate like that. The older you go, the more relatively expensive a vehicle is. So, if you're going to go to the 2 to 4 year category, then you get a good deal. But if you're going to go to the 10 to 12 year, you're going to find it expensive.
And obviously, Dave, remember they got this new law coming in next year about pollution. So don't get a diesel car, because you find some of the cities like Middle Mercia and that, if you've got an old dirt diesel car, you probably won't have to drive it through there. So just bear that in mind. So, I mean, that's all coming in supposedly beginning of January, where you can have different coloured labels on your windscreen. Have you read about that, Chris?
Yeah, there's an article on our website actually about the eco stickers.
Yeah.
And it's been in place in a while in places like Barcelona and Madrid, where you have eco protected zones. And we give them to all the people who register cars for, with a lot of information, but they're going to get strict. It's been planned for a long time, but they're going to get stricter on it.
Right.
And
yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I've got a diesel car. I mean, and they've only just told us. I use that N332, the English police site, Spanish police information site. And it's only just come up the past week or so, so it's a sort of something new to me. But it's interesting. It's been out for quite a while now. Obviously, they're enforcing it next year. Okay, next question by Ron and Linda. Can you please ask Chris this question? We bought a house on Campasol Sector A 6 years ago and hope to become residents next year. We have NIE numbers and bank accounts and all the legal documents through pals at the port would have all this in place, make it easier next year. Okay. Well,
yes, definitely. Yeah, it will do. Now, does it add to the requirements of residency? No. So, the fact that you've got a house, helps, but it doesn't. So, say we're talking about the financials now. Let's just pretend that they're coming over in an NLV, because I'm not too sure how they're coming over. But let's say, first of all, it's an NLV. Now, the way that will help them is, do you know what? Great, you've got a fixed address already, so that always helps when you've got a fixed address. You can use a correspondence address for an NLV, but it really does help your case if you've got a fixed address. We always advise our clients, if they've got a property, to take a document called a nota simpli. So it's an updated land registry document which proves you're still the current owner and there's no charges against that property. So, that's always a positive. Having an NIE number, that's positive as well. That means you've already got a file open with the police. So you've got your national foreigner's identity number, and your visa will come back with the same NIE number on it. And it also means you can track your visa progress a little bit easier as well, because they do normally give you a visa tracking number, but sometimes it doesn't work with an NIE. It's a lot easier. Bank accounts, again, great, because when you come over, you're already set up. I'm assuming the bank accounts are non-resident at the moment. They'll be able to set them up as resident accounts, which, depending on their finances, makes it easier for the renewal as well. So yeah, it is possible. We've done visas for people who have only ever been to Spain once and haven't even set foot in Spain in 2 years and don't have a footprint, and it's fine, they get approved. But if you've got all that in place, brilliant. It can't hurt. It helps.
So I suppose really, with all that, it's just still making sure that they've got enough money. The amount of money they got out of each year to,
Yeah, and I mean, like, for example, if they were coming over on an EU platform, say they've got Irish passports, or one of them has got an Irish passport, having that in place is great, because they've immediately got somewhere to go and register on the Padron. They've immediately got a bank account, if they're working, say, on a basis of savings, to lodge their money in. So, whereas some people come over and they don't have those things in place immediately. They they need to get stuff together. It takes them a month just to get that. They're under a time limit, to get the residencies in. So yeah, it does help. It doesn't count, shall we say, towards the requirements. You still have to meet the requirements. You're not just going to get residency because you've got NIE number of property, but it certainly makes the journey smoother, I'd say.
That's good. Right, next question by Yogi, and I know he's in the house because I've seen him put a question up.
Hey, Yogi.
Recently, Spain announced the new digital Nomad visa. What is the difference about this visa compared to the non-lucrative visa, which we did talk about a while back, but I'll pass it on to you, Chris.
Well, the answer's in the title of the visa. Non-lucrative means can't be allowed to be lucrative, and the digital nomad, when it comes out, means that you can be digital nomad, earning money digitally as a nomad in Spain, basically. So yeah, there's going to be a lot more differences. The digital nomad visa, I believe, may be done. Ooh, sorry, some animals just jumped past me.
Oh yeah, not wild boar then.
No, I don't think so. I
Or
think it's a
big
mouse.
cats. Oh,
But
mouse.
mouse. Okay, we get out here in the campo. So yeah, where were we? Digital nomad. So the digital nomad would allow somebody to work, obviously digitally, you know, and be employed by a company, we think, from outside of Spain, and have various tax breaks and allow employed income as long as you meet the criteria. Whereas we know the non-lucrative visa, you cannot be employed in any shape or form.
Yeah. So Yogi's next question is, when bringing your car from the UK and transferring it to the Spain system, what are the key things we have to consider? What are the pitfalls?
Great question. Okay, what the key things to consider? The key things are that if you are moving to Spain, that you've owned it long enough to be able to waive the taxes. Okay, so that means don't just buy a car that you like to take to Spain with you, and realize you get here and you can't bring it in under the change of ownership, change of residence rules, so that you have to have owned it for more than 6 months. One big thing that has come up recently is the headlights. Now, back in the day when we were doing these in 2006, 2007, the headlights weren't a problem because most people had halogen headlights. Most of the time you can get replacements either from a scrappy or later on towards 2009, order them online. But nowadays, most cars have either LED or xenon lights, don't they? Not all of them can be adjusted to meet the Spanish requirements, and if they can't and they have to be replaced, you'd find that that's a massive expense. So sometimes you could bring a new car over which got very low emissions, bring it in for change of residencies, you know, it costs you, you know, even employing somebody around €1,000, and then you realize that the headlights are not well aligned and it can't be done on the onboard computer, and you have to replace them and they're like $4,000 or something. So I would definitely 100%, depending on the vehicle you're trying to bring over, check out the headlight alignment before you bring it to make sure it can be aligned for left-hand drive driving. And what else? Evidently, remember, it's a right-hand drive car in Spain. A lot of people prefer right-hand drive cars because you can stick tight to the side of the road. Some people find it a bit of a nightmare when they get here.
Yeah.
And what other pitfalls have you got? Another one's the fog light at the rear. Make sure that we overtake on a different side in Spain, so you have to have the fog light on the left, not the right. Doubles are fine, or one in the middle is fine. And obviously the resale value of a right-hand drive car isn't that of a left-hand drive car. So you have to be aware that if you are bringing a car over to register it, then you're registering it for good. For good. You can still sell them, but they're not.
Yeah, because I had a friend the other day. They've just come over to live here and on a non-lucrative, and they obviously got quite a newish UK car, and he was going to take it. Well, first he was going to try and sell it here in Spain. He wasn't get very good a deal for it, and then he was thinking about taking it back to the UK and selling it. But when he weighed up paying the taxes here, he's decided to keep his UK car and pay whatever the tax was, because he thought if he went back to the UK, he's maybe not going to get the same sort of car that he's got already. Because I don't know about you, Chris, but I've noticed a lot of the Spanish cars do seem to be a lot more expensive here than in the UK. So, you know, and we also talked about, okay, what happens when he gets to a toll gate? Well, now you can go to your bank and get a little device to put on your windscreen, so you don't even have to worry about leaning out the window the wrong side, because it automatically opens up. So that's another thing that, you know, if you wanted to keep your right-hand drive car, it's not going to be too much of a problem, really.
No, I don't think it is. Lots of people do. I mean, it's absolutely, at the moment, it's crazy. Here, I don't know what it's like in Murcia at the moment, but here in Andalusia, I mean, the appointments of registering the vehicles are running in a month's time. I was speaking to the technician El Viso station, and he was like, at the moment we offer 30 a month, and we're already up to the end of November now.
Right.
So you know, there's still lots and lots of people. That's not all Brit cars, but lots of British people bringing cars over.
Yeah.
And you're right, you know, the price of second-hand cars here, the older you get, the more expensive it seems. So you know, you can't get anything for really less than £2,000, can you? And that's, you know, with 3 wheels and a sun stain at the top, but sun bleach roof. But if you go nearly new, I know it sounds crazy, but you can get more or less like for like prices. You know, it's okay. It's when you start to get over the 4 or 5 year old period, they just do not depreciate here. And the mileage, obviously, it's a bigger country. The mileage is always higher.
Yeah. So Yogi's last question was, Chris. No. Chris's opinion is better to sell your car in the UK than buy a new one in Spain, or bring your car from the UK across to Spain, which I suppose was what we just talked about then, really.
No, it's definitely better to bring it and use UPSTICKS to register it, to be honest.
Is it? You think so?
No, it's personal preference, isn't it? You know, some people are really attached to their cars, some people don't care. You know, so if you don't care, it depends what you're looking for. So, you know, a client of mine I was talking to the other day is just looking for like an SUV type thing, which is 2 to 3 years old. You know, and I was well, looking at your budget, should probably just go down to Kia. You know, speak to them, because they have like the nearly news in there, and they're not bad prices. You get decent warranty on it, and it wouldn't be worth, you know, re-registering what they had in the UK, which was 5 years old. Whereas if you've got a really decent, you know, vehicle, 10-year-old vehicle in the UK, and you're attached to it, then it probably would be worth bringing it over, because you'd probably never find the same vehicle here.
Right. So we got Cheryl. Hi, when you get your NLV for the first year, do you have to do it all again from the beginning for the second and third year and pay it all again?
No. So when you're here on the first year, so you have your first year NLV, and then you have a period of 60 days before the expiry of the TIE card, and 90 days after the expiry of the TIE card to submit your renewal documents. Now, the renewal documents are submitted to immigration. It's done on an online government platform. There are still a few appointments available in the immigration offices, but very few. And they are working towards having it all online. That's it. You don't have to go through the whole consulate thing again. You basically have to submit the proof that you've still got funds to support yourself, and then it's following 2 years. Okay. That can be passive income, savings, or a combination of both. You have to prove you've got healthcare in place. So we've recently had some clients who came in on private healthcare, but now managed to switch onto the S1 state-funded system. So now they're renewing with that certificate.
Yeah.
And evidently you have to have proof of where you live in. And we always advise our clients, if they've got it, extra proof of what they've been doing. If, you know, their bank accounts to prove they've been spending money here, you have to submit your passport, etc., etc. You don't have to pay the extortionate fees that you pay at the consulate the first time round, but there are 2 taxes that you need to pay. There's one for the initial application, which is €19.40, I believe, off the top of my head. And then there's another tax, which is similar price to register the TIE card afterwards.
Because they still have to pay for the TIE card again, don't they?
Yeah, you do. You hand your TIE card over, and you go through exactly the same process as you did the first year.
Right. And obviously that's like the first year, and then you got like a 2-year break, haven't you?
Yeah, you got 1 year, then 2 years, and 2 years.
Yeah. Right. The last question. Wow. We've done well. Right. It's a bit of a it's a bit of a complicated one, but I'll get through it. If a married couple wish to move to Spain and one of the spouse holds an Irish passport, can the other half spouse who holds a UK passport apply at the same time, or is there a period of time the spouse with the UK passport has to wait? I.e., do they have to wait till the Spanish residency has been granted to the Irish passport holder? So we sort of talked about that one, didn't we?
Yes, you do. Yes. So the order would be that the Irish spouse would get residency first, and then the third country national, or the Brit in this case, would apply for residency afterwards.
So the other person would be like the holiday maker, and then once the Irish passport thing has been approved, and then they apply. Is that
That's
right?
right. That's right, yeah, and it's done on the same platform. So it's the renewals for the NLVs, the applications for EU family members, it's all done on the same platform. Right. So there's actually on the platform there's 23 what they say modelos. It's where we submitted all the withdrawal agreement applications as well, but you can't submit on there until the Irish person's got their residency in place.
Right. So I've got another question there. Guess who it's from? Right. How would we engage with UPSTICKS? When is the most appropriate time, and what does that look like?
It depends when you're moving over. So see, you can engage you can book a call on the website. Unfortunately, the calls at the moment are running into November because we've been quite busy. But if you're in no rush, get a call booked on the website. Then we can have a chat there, and then we'll discuss a timeline. So we always try and get, if it's an NLV we're talking about, we normally try and get in a bit earlier. Avoid summers. When we have our initial call, we'll talk about the time of year as well that you want to register, because we had a horrific summer this year, and there's a lot of people who are coming in to avoid becoming fiscal residents this year and stuff like that. So if you book a call there, Yogi, or drop us an email at support, then we can go from there.
All right. Got another question here from Bruce, because we got 5 minutes left. Do you need to prove you have to double the money? So obviously, do you have to keep proving that you still got that amount of money when you're applying for renewing your non-lucrative visa? Yeah,
you do. You need double. Now there was a myth which I believe was derived from a video on YouTube that you only needed 1 year for the renewal, and that's rubbish. To be honest with you, and there may be somebody who got away with it somewhere, but you have to have double the money. Now, I think there's a common misunderstanding regarding this, and the misunderstanding is that it's about the savings and passive income. Okay, so if you're working on a basis of savings, and I've had this directly from immigration in Alicante, in Murcia as well, and we just got a letter confirming this from Malaga as well, that we work on a basis of IPREM. IPREM is like a minimum wage or livable standard in Spain, and for one person, if we're just talking about a single person, for an NLV they need 4 times that amount, which at the moment stands at 27,792. 27,792. It's late. We always say 28k. So if one person singly wanted to renew the following year, if they're only working on savings, they would need double that, which is 2856 k, evidently. So what people get confused with is that recurring income, like a pension payment, is counted monthly. So it's counted as double over the 2 years anyway. So if you're getting a pension of €1,000 a month, that will be counted as 24k during the renewal period, because it's a passive recurring income. So your passive recurring income is looked at on a monthly basis, and your savings evidently has to meet the total criteria of months that you're applying for. I hope that made sense.
Not to me, but so just before we finish, you got places around Spain. Can you remember the offices that you've got around Spain that people? So obviously, like here in Murcia, is there an office in Murcia or Alicante, for instance?
So we don't have an office in Murcia, but we do have somebody who does our appointments for us there. So we've got our main place here in Malaga, and then we have basically what we call our appointment specialists dotted around Spain. So they actually attend to people at the appointments in person, because now since Brexit, obviously it's gone national because it's NLVs, so anybody could be anywhere, couldn't they?
Yeah.
So we've got people who cover our appointments in Lanzarote. Jessica, who was with me at A Place in the Sun show, actually, she came over and did that weekend with me. She does our appointments there. We've also got people in Almeria, and there's an office that you can go and visit there. So we share that with somebody. In Alicante as well, we've got Victoria up there. She's absolutely run off her feet at the moment. Murcia as well, the main head office there in Murcia. We had some people there last week, actually, a good group of guys. One NLV from the Philippines we had, and 2 from Manchester, 1 from London, I think it was. That was great. And also we cover ourselves from Malaga, the whole of Andalusia. So we go out to Sevilla, we go to Cadiz, we go to Granada, Cordoba, wherever we need to go.
That's good, because I know you've come up to Murcia to take some people into the immigration place to go through the procedure. Is that right? The video.
Yeah. So every time that we've, shall we say, opened up a new area, and I've taken on people to help people at that station, I always go, because I need to get it in my head how it's positioned, what we're going to do. You have to be able to visualize it. So, every police station that we attend to, say up and down Spain, I've been to personally to do the job.
Right. That's good. So It's come up. We've got a couple more minutes, but I think we've had a good night. Chris has done really well with all the questions. I must appreciate Chris for coming on tonight, answering all the questions. Top man. So
Cheers,
I want to say now the next live show is there. I've got Andrew from U2 Spain coming on. So
cool. I'll be on his show on Saturday. I'm on his show on Saturday.
So all right. So you might see Chris again then.
Might see me again. People will be bored of me.
So I just want to say very much, Chris, for coming on tonight. Most appreciated. So guys, adios amigos. I'll catch you in a month's time. As always, most appreciate everybody popping in tonight, and then I'll catch you on next month's one. So adios amigos.